Hello students, in today's video I will share three important topics from the anterior abdominal wall. The first topic is the conjoint tendon. Okay, this is the conjoint tendon which you are able to see here. This is the conjoint tendon. Okay, the next important topic which I'll take is the cremaster muscle, and the last topic is the cutaneous nerve supply, that is the nerve supply to the anterior abdominal wall. Okay, so first we will take the conjoint tendon. This conjoint tendon is also known as falx inguinalis. Okay, so this conjoint tendon, it is also known as falx inguinalis. Okay, so please remember this. This could be asked in your short note or viva question. So falx inguinalis or conjoint tendon. So let's focus on the diagram. What is the conjoint tendon? Okay, now this conjoint tendon is formed. Okay, so this you can see in the diagram here. This is the conjoint tendon. Okay, you can see here. This is your conjoint tendon. Okay, this is your pecten pubis. Okay, this is your pubic symphysis, and here will be your pubic tubercle. Okay, so here is your pubic symphysis, here is your pubic tubercle, and here is the inguinal ligament would be here. Okay, pubic tubercle and here. Okay, so the conjoint tendon is formed by the lowest aponeurotic fibers of the internal oblique and transversus muscle. Okay, now you all know in the inguinal ligament, the topic which I have discussed in the previous video, the inguinal ligament, the lateral 2/3 of the inguinal ligament, if you see the inguinal ligament, the lateral 2/3 there is insertion of internal oblique, lateral 1/3 there is insertion of the transversus abdominis. So the conjoint tendon, okay, is formed by the aponeurosis, that is the lowest aponeurotic fibers of the internal oblique and transversus abdominis muscle. Okay, so the lowest aponeurotic fibers of the internal oblique and transversus abdominis muscle. Okay, external oblique aponeurosis, it leads to formation of inguinal ligament. Okay, but the lowest aponeurotic fibers of internal oblique and transversus, it forms the conjoint tendon. Now if you see, this tendon is attached to the pubic crest. Okay, so this is your pubic crest. So this tendon is attached to the pubic crest and the medial part of pecten pubis. So pecten pubis, you know, there is a line which is going, okay, above and this way, then there is an arcuate line. So this is your conjoint tendon where it is attached to the pubic crest and then forward to the pecten pubis. Okay, so it is attached to the pubic crest and the pecten pubis. Medially, it is continuous with the anterior wall of the rectus sheath. Now you see, this is linea alba. Okay, this white line is a linea alba. Okay, and then you have rectus abdominis muscle, and there is a rectus abdominis muscle. Okay, this is rectus abdominis. This muscle is a rectus abdominis muscle, and then this is rectus abdominis, and this is linea alba. Okay, now you know the aponeurosis of all the three muscles, it unite. This is linea semilunaris, and the aponeurosis, okay, this aponeurosis, they unite in the center, and it covers the rectus abdominis muscle and forms the rectus sheath that we have seen. So medially, the conjoint tendon is attached to the rectus sheath. Yes, medially it is attached to the rectus sheath, and laterally it is free. Okay, So laterally, okay, if we trace medially, it is attached to the rectus sheath, and the aponeurosis of the two muscles, that is the internal oblique and transversus abdominis, okay, they fuse lateral to the rectus abdominis in the lower part of the abdominal wall. So laterally there will be fusion of the aponeurosis of two muscles. Okay, so this way your conjoint tendon is formed. Okay, now this conjoint tendon, it strengthens the abdominal wall at the site where it is weakened by the superficial inguinal ring. Now here is the superficial inguinal ring. There is deep and superficial inguinal ring. So this is an outline they have shown of the superficial inguinal ring. So this conjoint tendon, it strengthens the superficial inguinal ring where it is weakened. It strengthens the abdominal wall. There is a ring. Okay, it's a ring. It is hollow. So it strengthens the abdomen where it is weakened by superficial inguinal ring. So it strengthens the abdominal wall surrounding the superficial inguinal ring. Okay. So this is about your conjoint tendon. Okay, just remember this is the conjoint tendon. If you see, this is aponeurosis of internal oblique. If you see in the diagram, this is aponeurosis of internal oblique, then the aponeurosis of transversus abdominis. Okay, and this is rectus abdominis muscle. So this is your conjoint tendon. So this conjoint tendon, again I will repeat, it is formed by the lowest aponeurotic fibers of the internal oblique aponeurosis and the aponeurosis of transversus abdominis, the lowest part where it is attached to the pelvic bone, and it is attached to the pubic crest and pecten pubis in the medially. So medially this conjoint tendon is in continuation with the rectus sheath medially, the medial side towards the midline, and laterally it is formed by the fusion of the aponeurosis of the muscles of internal oblique and transversus abdominis. The main thing in the conjoint tendon is it strengthens the abdominal wall where it is weakened by the presence of superficial inguinal ring. Okay, so this was about your conjoint tendon. I hope you understood the topic. This is a very small short note asked, or it may be asked in the MCQs or in the Viva. Okay, the next topic is cremaster muscle. So we'll take the next topic, that is the cremaster muscle. You can see here the diagram. Okay, these are the cremaster muscle. These are the loops of the cremaster muscle. Okay, these are the loops. Okay, this is your cremaster muscle. Now you can see this muscle is in the form of loops. Okay, this muscle is in the form of loops, and you can see the testes is suspended. The testes is suspended, which is covered by the spermatic fascia. Okay, you can see in the diagram. This is your pubis, pubic symphysis. Okay, this is your inguinal ligament. This is your inguinal ligament. Okay, and here is your internal oblique. Now we'll see the cremaster muscle. The cremaster muscle, it is consisting of muscle fasciculi which is embedded in the cremasteric fascia. Okay, so muscle is a form of loop. Now this muscle is in the form of loops. You can see this is loops. Now yesterday, if you remember, the inguinal ligament topic, the video I have shared, the inguinal ligament, The inguinal ligament, the lateral two-third and the lateral one-third consist of internal oblique and transversus abdominis muscle. Okay. And the middle part of the inguinal ligament, in the upper surface of the inguinal ligament, there was origin of cremaster muscle, if you remember. Okay, so in the middle part of the inguinal ligament was cremaster muscle, and the medial part, medial half of the inguinal ligament, it forms the floor of the inguinal canal. Yes, so you can see the cremaster muscle. Okay, from the middle one-third of the upper surface of the inguinal ligament, the superficial loops, it arises. So I have told you this muscle is in the form of loops. The loops are superficial loops and the deep loops. The superficial loops, okay, it is arising, superficial means it is very superficial to the skin. So it is arising from the middle one-third of the inguinal ligament. Middle one-third of the inguinal ligament. Okay. Now, the deep loops, it arises from the pubic tubercle, pubic crest and the conjoint tendon. Okay. So, deep loops, it arises from the pubic tubercle. Okay. This is pubic symphysis. Somehow here would be a pubic tubercle and the pubic crest. Okay. And also there is presence of conjoint tendon here, which I have discussed right now only. Okay. So medially it is embedded. It has pubic tubercle, pubic crest and conjoint tendon. Okay. So the deep loops is from the pubic tubercle, pubic crest and the conjoint tendon, and the superficial loops is from the middle part of the inguinal ligament. Okay, this is cremaster muscles. Now, some fibers of the cremaster muscles are continuous with the internal oblique and transversus muscles. As you know, there is insertion, that is to the conjoint tendon also. So some fibers will also be attached to the internal oblique and transversus muscle. So medial ends of the loops are attached to the pubic tubercle, pubic crest and the conjoint tendon. Now, in males, this cremaster muscle is fully developed, but in females there is only few fibers of the cremastic muscle. Now this is in the form of loops. It is a sac-like formation where the muscle is in the form of loop. So this cremaster muscle has a cremaster fascia, okay, and it carries spermatic cord and testes. Okay, it carries spermatic cord and testes. The nerve supply is the genitofemoral nerve, that is the genital branch of the genitofemoral nerve. This is the nerve supply of the muscle, genital branch of the genitofemoral nerve. Now, what is the action of this muscle? The action is it helps to suspend the testes and can elevate it. It closes the superficial inguinal ring when the intra-abdominal pressure is raised. So, two function of the cremaster muscle is it suspends the testes and it can elevate. So, a testis is suspended in the cremaster muscle. So, it suspends the testes and it closes the superficial inguinal ring whenever the abdominal pressure is raised, so that the contents would not come out. Okay. Now, what is cremasteric reflex? It's a reflex action. Whenever you stroke the thigh area on the medial side of the upper part of the skin of the thigh, there is a contraction of the cremaster muscle. So this contraction will lead to elevation and retraction of the testes. Now this is your pubis. Now here down, if you imagine, here would be your thigh area. So when you stroke the skin of the thigh, okay, what will happen? There will be contraction of this cremaster muscle. This will go into contraction. So cremaster muscle will go into contraction. So this will lead to elevation. So if this muscle is contracted, suppose this is the cremaster muscle, and if this muscle is contracted, it will contract. So it will elevate the testes along with it. Okay, so it will lead to elevation of the testes. This reflex is more seen in children, brisk, and reflex is lost in upper motor neuron lesion above L1 segment. Why? Because this is supplied by the genitofemoral nerve L1. So if you have a there is upper motor neuron lesion where the injury is above the L1, this reflex is affected. Okay, so this was about the cremaster muscle. Once again I'll repeat. This cremaster muscle, if you see, it is in the form of loops. Okay, there are superficial loops and deep loops. The superficial loops, it arises from the middle 1/3 of the inguinal ligament. Okay, and the deep loops, it arises from the medial part of pubic tubercle, pubic crest, and the conjoint tendon. Some of the fibers are attached to the internal oblique aponeurosis as well as the transversus abdominis muscle. Okay, so this is in the form of loops. The testes, okay, is suspended along with the spermatic cord in this cremaster muscle. Okay, it is supplied by the genital branch of the genitofemoral nerve. It helps to suspend the testes and it can elevate it. Also, the action is it closes the superficial inguinal ring whenever the intra-abdominal pressure is raised. Cremasteric reflex, in this reflex, whenever you stroke the skin of the upper part of the medial side of the thigh, there will be contraction of the cremaster muscle, and this contraction will lead to elevation and retraction of the testes. Okay, this cremasteric reflex is more brisk in children and it is lost in upper motor neuron lesion where the lesion is above the L1 segment. Okay, so this was about the cremaster muscle. Okay, so now the next topic would be the cutaneous nerve supply. Okay, the nerve supply to the skin of the anterior abdominal wall. So this is one important topic which I want to make you remember. Now, the cutaneous supply, that is the skin of the anterior abdominal wall. If you take the skin of the anterior abdominal wall, the skin is supplied by T7 to T11 nerves, that is intercostal, that is coming from T7, that is thoracic vertebrae, 7 to T11. So that is the cutaneous nerve supply. Okay, also T12, that is the subcostal nerve, and L1, that is the first lumbar. Okay, so this is the skin of the anterior abdominal wall which is supplied by T7 to T11, T12 and L1, that is L1 is iliohypogastric nerve. Now the anterior cutaneous nerves, it arises from T7 to T11 and also subcostal in the and the iliohypogastric nerves, that is T7 to L1. So all the anterior part of the skin of the anterior abdominal, anterior cutaneous nerve means it supplies the anterior skin of the anterior abdominal wall in front, and this is supplied by T7 to L1. So T7, T8, T9, T10, T11, subcostal is T12 and iliohypogastric is from L1. Now what is the course of this nerve? T7 to T12, it arises from the vertebrae and it enters the intercostal spaces. Then it enters the anterior abdominal wall. Then it passes between the internal oblique and transversus abdominis. Then it enters into the rectus sheath, passes behind the rectus abdominis muscle, and then it will divide into medial and lateral branch. and the medial branch will supply the skin of the anterior part of the abdomen. Okay, so course of T7 to T12 is, it will arise from thoracic vertebrae, it will go into the intercostal space, enter the anterior abdominal wall, goes through the internal oblique, transversus abdominis, then the rectus sheath, passes behind the rectus abdominis muscle, and then it will divide into medial and lateral branch, and the medial branch will supply the skin of the anterior part of the abdomen. Okay, now T7, if we take T7, T7 is present near the xiphoid process. Okay, T10 is at the umbilicus and L1 is 2.5 centimeter above the inguinal ring. Inguinal ring is above the medial part of the inguinal ligament. Okay, so L1 is above the superficial inguinal ring. So T7 is xiphoid process, T10 is umbilicus, and L1 is near the superficial inguinal ring. Now T8, T9, T11 and T12 are arranged at proportional distance between them. So T7, then it's xiphoid process, then comes T8, then T9 at proportional distance, then T10 at umbilicus, T11, T12 between T10 and L1, and then L1 is just 2.5 centimeter above the superficial inguinal ring. Now T12, this is the muscle which supplies the pyramidalis. Okay, this is the nerve, this is the nerve which supplies the pyramidalis muscle, the small muscle. Iliohypogastric and ilioinguinal, they do not enter the rectus sheath. So iliohypogastric, okay, iliohypogastric, that is the L1, it is 2.5 centimeter above the inguinal ring, that is superficial inguinal ring. And ilioinguinal nerve, it is a terminal patch which emerges through the superficial inguinal ring. It pierces the external spermatic scapula, it goes down and supplies the skin of the external genitalia and the upper part of the medial side of the thigh. Now iliohypogastric, that is L1, and ilioinguinal, these are the two nerves which is a part of lumbar plexus, which I will take later on. But iliohypogastric is 2.5 centimeter above the superficial inguinal ring, and ilioinguinal, okay, now this arises from the superficial and it goes down. Iliohypogastric will go upwards, okay, it is towards upwards, and this will descend down, it will pierce the spermatic fascia. Ilioinguinal means it will supply the inguinal area. Okay, it goes down and it supplies the skin of the external genitalia and upper part of the medial side of the thigh. That is ilioinguinal. Iliohypogastric is going upwards, ilioinguinal is going downwards, and it is supplying the external genitalia. Now there is from T10 and T11, there is emerging of two lateral cutaneous nerves. Now this nerve, it pierces the external oblique and it divides into anterior and posterior branch. The anterior branch is the large branch and the posterior branch is the small branch. So from T10 and T11 emerges the two lateral cutaneous nerves. This two lateral cutaneous nerve will pierce the external oblique muscle, and after piercing it will divide into anterior and the posterior branch. Okay, this branch arises from the lower part of the external oblique muscle, supplying the skin on the lateral side of the abdomen. So the from T10 to T11 lateral cutaneous nerve occurs. So it supplies the lateral side of the abdomen. So it will supply the lateral side of the abdomen. It's a lateral cutaneous nerve. So it will supply the lateral side of the abdomen. Next, from T12 and L1, that is subcostal and iliohypogastric, there emerges lateral cutaneous branch. It goes into the iliac crest and it supplies the skin of the anterior superior part of the gluteal region. So from T12 and L1 emerges the lateral cutaneous branch which goes into the iliac crest and it supplies the skin of the anterior superior part of the gluteal region. Okay, so this cutaneous nerves which I have already sent in the group, this cutaneous nerves. Okay, one more thing, just remember this table. If you see, this is a table which is given IN 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. SCN is subcostal, ILH is iliohypogastric, and ILI is ilioinguinal. TR is transversus abdominis, IO is internal oblique, EO is external oblique, and RF is rectus femoris. Now, that is rectus abdominis. Now, if we go intercostal 6, that is from T6. Some textbook give T6, some textbook give T7. T6, it supplies, it gives a branch to transversus, internal oblique, external oblique, and rectus abdominis. T7 also transversus, internal oblique, external oblique, rectus. T8 also all the 4 muscles. T9 all the 4 muscles it gives branches. T10 all the 4 muscles it gives branches. T11 all the 4 muscles. Now the last is T12, that is subcostal nerve. It is also known as subcostal nerve because it was supplying the thoracic and the abdomen, if you remember. So subcostal nerve, it is supplying all the 3 muscles, also the pyramidals, which I mentioned just now only. It is supplying all the muscles in transversus abdominis, internal oblique, external oblique, rectus abdominis, and also the pyramidalis. So remember this, subcostal is also supplying the pyramidalis. So next nerve we'll take is iliohypogastric, which is supplying the transversus abdominis and the internal oblique. And the next is ilioinguinal, which is supplying the internal oblique only. Okay, so if you see the ilioinguinal nerve, it gives only to internal oblique. Okay, an iliohypogastric nerve, it gives to internal oblique and transversus abdominis, but ilioinguinal, it gives only to internal oblique. Okay, so this was about your cutaneous nerves of the anterior abdominal wall. I have shared this notes with the sir, so please collect. So skin of the anterior abdominal, T7 to T12 and L1 iliohypogastric. Anterior cutaneous nerve arises from T7 to T11. Subcostal and iliohypogastric. The courses, intercostal space, then anterior abdominal wall, then between internal oblique transversus, then the rectus sheet. Rectus abdominis divides into medial and lateral branch, and medial branches supply the skin of the anterior part of the abdomen. Okay. Then T7 xiphoid, T10 umbilicus, L1 just about 2.5 cm superficial inguinal ring. T12 I just mentioned, it supplies all the muscles as well as pyramidalis. 2 nerves, iliohypogastric and ilioinguinal, do not enter rectus sheet. Okay, iliohypogastric is 2.5 cm above the superficial inguinal ring, and ilioinguinal is going downwards. Spermatic fascia and supply the skin of the genitalia and the upper part of the medial side of the thigh, where we are stroking the cremaster muscle. From T10-11, 2 lateral cutaneous nerve arises. It pierces the external oblique, divides into posterior and anterior branch. The anterior is large and the posterior branch is small. Okay, this branch arises from the external oblique lower part and supplies the skin of the lateral side of the abdomen because it is lateral cutaneous. Next, T12 and L1, it emerges as lateral cutaneous branch, divides. From this emerges one lateral cutaneous branch, it goes into the iliac crest and it supplies the skin of the anterior superior part of the gluteal region. So this was about the cutaneous nerves of the anterior abdominal wall and the nerve supply of the abdominal wall. Please remember this table. Okay, this is anterior abdominal wall nerve supply. So today we have seen cremaster muscle, conjoint tendon, and the nerve supply, that is the cutaneous innervation of the anterior abdominal wall. Kindly go through the textbooks and the notes which I have provided. For any query, let me know. Thank you, students.